What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another Tottenham update, and we've got an injury update to give you on some players. And let's start off with Emerson Royal, who hobbled off in Brazil's last game. Tom Barkley was the first one to break it, saying Emerson has damaged his knee playing for Brazil and is set to undergo surgery. Ali Gold gave us a bit more specifics, and he said Emerson Royal is set to miss most of the rest of the season with a knee injury that requires an operation. Spurs have gone from having potentially 4 right wing backs to just 1, which is absolutely crazy. And Dan Kilpatrick saying Emerson Royal set to undergo surgery after suffering knee injury for Brazil. Spurs expecting him to be sidelined for around 6 weeks, which could make him touch and go to play again this season. Davis last week was ruled out for about 5 weeks too. And this is just making this decision to rip up Doherty's contract looks more stupider by the day.
100%, and we could have had, we could have kept him on just for the Premier League, and now we're out of the Champions League anyway, which he was going to be left out of. So it makes the decision a bit farcical, to be honest, to cancel his contract when we definitely could have used him for either flank. You mentioned we've gone from 4 wing backs to 1 for the rest of the season, which is an issue, obviously, but thankfully I would say the 1 is probably the best one, hopefully anyway, remaining. The fact that we only have 1 game a week as well means that hopefully this problem is manageable, but we just have to hope that Pedro Porro stays fit from now to the rest of the season. Otherwise, if he picks up a niggling injury or anything, then we're going to have no one there. So that's obviously a big blow.
Right wing back.
Yeah, we're going to have no choice. We're going to have absolutely no one to play there. So part of me obviously is worried with the lack of options and a lot of relying on Porro, but another part of me is like, it's kind of chucking Porro into the deep end now, and it's just going to help him settle in even more and get more game time. So at least we know Porro is going to be our right back from now to the end of the season. He's not going to be coming in and out of the team in battle for Emerson. He's going to get a run of 10 games now where we're going to get to really see what he's all about. So I'm happy about that, but obviously it's a bit of a worry that no rotation, and if he picks up an injury, we're a bit screwed.
Yeah, very worrying. I'm not worried for the games this weekend against Everton, but for the games against Manchester United, for the games against Liverpool, I'm really worried because those were like Emerson's games, right, where he always performed in. So hopefully Porro can step up in those games defensively. But
then again, if he does play in those games and he gets destroyed, it'll be a learning curve for him. And that's the end of the matter.
True. Next up, Richarlison. We've got an injury update from Ali Gold saying the belief at Tottenham is that Richarlison is set to return to action sooner rather than later from his latest problem. And George Sessions at PA Sport Media says that Richarlison will not be ready to return to face his former side Everton this weekend, but he is targeting a return to action later in April.
Positive.
Yeah, later in April though. We don't know when that is, but
yeah, at least he's going to play again. Look, this Richarlison, his first season, whatever happens from now to the end of the season, it's going to be branded a disappointment. All I want now from Richarlison is don't go the whole season without scoring in the Premier League.
Just a Premier League goal.
Yeah, just one goal in the Premier League, and then I can just sit back and say at least he has that, and he hasn't been a complete disaster. Because to be fair, look, whatever you want to say about Richarlison, I don't think when he's been on the pitch he's been terrible. I really don't. I think he has contributed to the team a lot, but when you sign a player for 60 million, obviously you want him to more than just contribute. You want him to be the difference in a way and make a difference in the final third. He hasn't been doing that. I know he has the ability to, but it would be a big blow if he was to be ruled out for the end of the season and he would go the rest of the season without scoring a goal in the Premier League. And I know that'll be playing on his mind. It's playing on his mind. You see it in his interviews. You can hear it.
Of course it is. And I think that when you're judging his signing right now, yes, he's done all right in a couple of games, but he's going to be considered, if it finishes like this, one of the flops of the season, if not the flop of the season.
Yeah, and he'll have to live with that, and he'll have to look. Just because you're a flop in your opening season doesn't make you a bad signing.
People said Son was a flop in his first season.
Look at Modric. Modric was voted worst transfer of the century or something by Madrid in his first season, and he went on to become a legend there. Obviously, I'm not saying Richarlison's on the same level as Modric. I'm just saying just because you're bad in your first season doesn't define you.
Of course.
So look, whatever happens, hopefully he can move past the season. But I just hope he can get that monkey off his back in terms of that goal in the Premier League.
I hope so. And you're right, it doesn't define you, but we've had big strikers on big money here before, Soldado, Vincent Janssen, and they've never seemed to recover from bad starts. squad. So let's hope this one can. Next up is Ryan Sessegnon. Charlie Eccleshare saying Sessegnon is getting close to return following his hamstring injury, but it is not imminent, which leaves us with Hugo Lloris set to return after playing behind the goals towards friendly. Ryan Sessegnon, unknown return date. Ben Davis, 4 to 6 week. Rodrigo Bentancur, Yves Bissouma and Emerson Royale for majority of the season. So that's what we're going to go with, and we can't really afford any more injuries, can we?
Not at all. Obviously, what we're saying about Sessegnon, hopefully he returns soon, but Perisic is going to have to be relied upon. Any talk about us going to a back four now, probably it kills it with these injuries. To be honest, I can't see it happening. If there was any possibility it was happening, I don't see it happening now because I don't see Perisic playing there. Hopefully Perisic playing one game a week can manage his form. He has been really poor over the last few weeks since the World Cup, but you just got to hope that he can find some form only playing one game a week and there'll be less pressure on him in that sense. But I think the quicker we get Sessegnon back and just have that option would be the better. But look, we know next season hopefully that position will be solved. But right now it is a big issue.
Yeah, let's hope so. Let's talk about a transfer rumour in Evan Ferguson of Brighton and Hove Albion. Peter O'Rourke of the Football Insider saying that Tottenham are interested in making a sudden move for Brighton striker Evan Ferguson. He's due to play France and Kylian Mbappe tonight, and he was talking about Evan Ferguson in the press conference before the game, and he says, yes, we saw some clips of him. He's a good striker and an important player. Yes, he is a very good player. So he's getting the plaudits from the likes of Kylian Mbappe at the moment, and I've been really impressed from what I've seen from him this season. Every time I see him, he seems to find the back of the net. Young striker, big, tall, quick. I think he's definitely one that we should be looking at.
Yeah, 18 years of age, and he seems to be regularly scoring, like whenever he gets an opportunity in the Premier League. He seems to be at the moment he seems to be hanging around the penalty area a lot. From what I see for when he plays for Brighton, I haven't watched Brighton religiously, although I do see a lot of their football. He doesn't seem to be a player who's like at the centre of their link-up play or anything like that. He does seem to be a player who's kind of finishing off a lot of their moves, which Brighton make a lot of since De Zerbi's been taking over because they play such good football. So he does seem to be a very good finisher. He seems to be very much a fox in the box at the moment. For an 18-year-old, he definitely seems to be physically like competing with a lot of the top players, which is really impressive.
Like compare him to like someone like Dane Scarlett, you know what I mean? Like Dane Scarlett seems so much smaller like physically to him.
And isn't Scarlett older than him? So like I think so anyway, or the same age. But yeah, physically he seems to be ahead of a lot of his peers.
Even someone like Troy Parrott.
Yeah, 100%. He's got. I think the fact that he's regularly getting on the score sheet for a Brighton team, challenging for European places, is really impressive. It's one of those things where like De Zerbi, I think at one point was kind of forced into playing him because of injuries, and then kind of he got his opportunity, but he's kind of grabbed his opportunity. It's one of those. I remember Rashford, he got his opportunity because there was a load of injuries in the United team, and they were like, all right, we're just going to give him a chance. And then
Wasn't that the case with Harry Kane as well?
Kane wasn't injuries, it was just bad form.
Just bad form.
Yeah,
like same kind of thing.
Yeah. There was just bad form, and he got his chance, and he took it with both hands. Rashford got that chance, and he just took it with both hands. And Ferguson seems to be doing the same thing. And to do it at 18 years of age, at the highest level, I think he scored for Ireland, didn't he? In the last international,
done, yeah.
I think he scored.
It'll be interesting to see how he gets on against France tonight.
Yeah, really, really impressive. So I think for sure he looks like he's going to be hot property. Obviously, you don't want to. No one wants to sign like a Makeda, who burst onto the scene at a very young age, and then or like a Januzaj, nowhere to be seen after that. But like, he doesn't look like he's going to be that kind of player. He looks like he's a hard-working player who's here to stay. And I think for sure Tottenham, as a backup to Kane, I mean, he could be the heir to Kane. Who knows?
Could be. Very well, could be. But let's move on. Let's talk about that manager situation once again. Julian Nagelsmann, Peter O'Rourke again saying that Nagelsmann may only take charge at Tottenham if they qualify for the next season's Champions League. Matt Law just done an article saying Daniel Levy to start the new permanent manager hunt immediately, and Nagelsmann tops that list and is open to an approach. So let's get him in, man. Let's get him in. Strike while the iron's hot is what I say.
Well, the fact that he hasn't slammed the door in our face is absolutely wildly positive, in my opinion. So I'm very excited about the prospect of signing Julian Nagelsmann. In my opinion, he's my number one choice. I think he would really excite the fans. I think the football he plays is exactly what we would a lot of the fans talk about when they talk about the Spurs DNA and taking risks and being positive. I think it's a no-brainer. If we can do it, get him in. And the fact that he's interested, I think we should just try and throw the kitchen sink at it and just try and get him to agree, because at this point, like after where we've been for the last few years, we just need a completely different approach, and I think he represents that.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up, Pochettino. As you might have seen a spoiler on your screens a seconds ago, Damasio saying that Real Madrid are interested in Maurizio Pochettino. But there's been an update from George Picon from a publication called Revelo saying that the intention of Carlo Ancelotti is to fulfill his contract with Real Madrid up until 2024, so one more season. But in the club, they have already began to plan a future without him. So, I mean, like this whole thing about Pochettino, right, and coming back to Spurs, I think as much as I do want Poch back at Spurs, Nagelsmann is our number one choice. But doesn't it make sense for everyone, for Poch to go to Real Madrid and for Nagelsmann to come here?
I think so. I think in terms of where they're at in their careers, I think that's probably the best option for everyone. We know that Perez really wanted Poch when he was at Tottenham, and obviously he was loyal to Tottenham at the time, and it didn't quite happen. And then by the time he left, I think I can't remember who was manager. I think it was Zidane was manager at the time anyway. But I think that's probably the best option. When it comes to like top managers who Madrid will be looking at, when you got Poch and Nagelsmann, I'm not sure who else they'll be looking at.
There was rumours of Jose Mourinho going back there because his contract runs out at the same time.
When you have a manager like Ancelotti in charge, as much as he's done a fantastic job, even this season, I know like they're second and they're still in the Champions League. Obviously, he swept Liverpool's side, so they're still doing well. They could win the Champions League again. But you always have to think like, how long is someone like Ancelotti going to be there? Usually Ancelotti, to be fair, doesn't hang around recently at clubs for too long as well, and he's been a manager at Madrid already. So and his age, so you just got to think. Obviously, it's more likely than not that he won't be there for the long term. So I'm not surprised they're looking at contingency plans and they're looking further forward. And I think Pochettino represents a different approach for them as well. But Poch has just got to be wary that he's just been at PSG where he lasted 2 years. He wouldn't want it all 18 months. He doesn't want to be at Madrid and then be in a situation where he had to run the Champions League within a couple of years and he gets booted out.
It's different at Madrid though than it is at PSG. PSG is a crazy club where there's a lot of power behind the scenes where you have to constantly fight that. Like Real Madrid, when you're looking at Real Madrid now, it's not like the Real Madrid of 10 years ago where you see the Galacticos. There's a lot of young players there that Poch can actually mould, and I think it's actually a really good job for him.
No, it's a good point. Obviously, he's going to have to manage Modric and Kroos out the team, but he's got obviously the ready-made replacements already there to come in. He's just got to be wary, like what happened to Lopetegui, who was only there for a couple of months and got shipped out very quickly. Like he's just got to be wary of that reality. But as long as he is, I think he could be a success there.
I agree. And let's move on to Tottenham season ticket prices. Daniel Levy and Matt Laws saying that Tottenham are considering announcing a sizable price rise in season tickets. And how can they have the cheek to even consider that now with the season that we've been through, the last 4 years that we've been through? And they're considering putting up the prices, and not only putting up the prices, but putting up the prices for the most expensive tickets in the UK.
Yeah,
it makes no sense.
Considering the football we've served up for the last 4 years as well, and the lack of direction we've been going in, the series of mistakes this club has made, and then they want to make a sizable price rise in season ticket prices. I mean, I don't know how they can justify that. Maybe they can justify it saying because of the price of inflation, all these kind of things, they have to up the price. But I just don't think they could, from a footballing standpoint, from what we're getting in terms of money, value for money, from what we're watching on the pitch and how they're running things from a footballing standpoint, I don't see how they can justify a rise in season ticket prices. I really don't, and I really think they're in for a massive backlash if they do it publicly. Whether it makes a difference or not. We saw Chelsea up their prices, and then there was massive fan backlash, and they were forced to renege that. So whether there's something similar will happen with Tottenham remains to be seen. Look, we've seen Tottenham many a time make an announcement. For example, when what was it, during COVID, they did
they sacked some staff, didn't they?
No, they didn't sack the staff. They did what was it called when the government paid furlough? They did the furlough. They had to. There was massive backlash, and they reneged on that. So they have form for making unpopular announcements and reneging on it. So whether this is another one, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I think season ticket prices might be a bit different to that, though. I think if they announce it, they ain't taking that back, in my opinion. I think people will pay it. And the people that don't want to pay it, those tickets will get taken up. So, unfortunately, we're kind of we're being grabbed by the balls by these club, and there's no way around it, because if we give up our season tickets, someone else is just going to take it. Those seats are going to be filled no matter what.
Yeah, you're probably right about that.
And also Antonio Conte has given us a farewell message on Instagram. What's he said?
Yeah, he's just posted it as we're shooting this video live, and he's had his say. He says, "Football is passion. I would like to deeply thank everyone at Spurs who appreciated and shared my passion and my intense way of living football as a coach. A special thought to the fans who always showed me support and appreciation. It's been unforgettable to hear them singing my name. Our journey together has ended, and I wish all the best for the future." Just interesting how he just kind of focuses on, I think most of that first paragraph, football is passion. I would like to deeply thank everyone at Spurs who appreciated my passion and my intense way of living football. Maybe that's him kind of acknowledging that he's an emotional person when it comes to football. And I don't know if he's acknowledging that he went over the top, but he's definitely acknowledging that that's kind of maybe what led to his outburst.
Yeah, I think he is acknowledging he went over the top, to be honest. And look,
and also just quickly, we didn't mention when we read the statement on Conte how little Levy talked about Conte. He didn't even mention him by name, and that was quite interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was
telling.
Yeah, exactly. I thought it was telling. I think Daniel Levy did not appreciate the way things ended with Antonio Conte. It seemed because when he sacked Jose Mourinho, there was a lot more personal messages in there to Jose, and it was very interesting, I thought. But with Antonio Conte, right, I'm still a massive fan of Antonio Conte. I appreciate what he did here. I think he's done a very good job, and I wish him all the best for the future, like I do with Jose Mourinho, like I do with everyone else that has been thrown under the bus at this football club. And I think, look, Antonio definitely could have done a few things better in his time here at Tottenham, and he's not completely blameless, but at the end of the day, he did his best for the football club. We got top four. It's our best. Last season was our best probably moment as a Spurs fan since sacking Maurizio Pochettino. So he brought us back into the Champions League football after 3 years out of it. So you got to say thank you to the man.
Yeah, look, the guy wears his heart on his sleeve. You can see that the passion is there for his job and for his work, and he really believes in his way of wanting to play football. At the end of the day, he came to a club where the circumstances for how he wants to manage just wasn't right for him. And it wasn't, and we were never going to give him the conditions to really compete at the very top. And that's exactly what he lives for. And that was always going to be a clash. And I think his intense way, as he says, his passion leads him to always demanding the best. And unfortunately at Tottenham, that's not all we can offer at the moment. And that's what led him getting frustrated. So I appreciate his work. I obviously agree that he had to leave because of the situation surrounding what he had, alienating the team and everything. Obviously, he's not perfect. Like, no manager is perfect. But at the end of the day, he just wants the very, very best. And that's why he gets frustrated. And it's almost as if we're saying to him, you shouldn't come here demanding the very best, and that's his downfall.
Yeah. You don't come to Tottenham and demand the best. No. You ain't going to come out on the good side. But look, that is your Tottenham update for today. Let me know in the comment section below if you have any thoughts regarding any of the news stories we've brought to you today. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.